So hi, we're here at Contact in the Desert. I'm here with Richard Dolan. Hi, Richard.
Hi, nice to meet you, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us.
It's great to be here. I've had a wonderful time all weekend. This is one of the most pleasant and interesting conferences I've been to in a long time.
Oh yeah? What do you think makes the difference between Contact in the Desert and some of the other UFO conferences you've been to?
Honestly, the biggest thing is the location and the whole setup of the facility. This is a big campus, and it gives a kind of openness to the conference, which you don't. Most conferences take place in a big hotel, and you're kind of stuck in there. You're penned in, kind of like a prisoner. Mm-hmm. And here, this is a very open. The weather's beautiful, so it has a different feel. And plus, there's just a lot of speakers and a lot of attendees, so it gives it a really nice, kind of engaging feel to it.
Have you spoken to any interesting folks? You've probably spoken to a lot of people since you've been here.
Every conference I go to, and this is no exception, I always learn more from the people attending than they could ever learn from me. Wow. Is really the truth. There are always brilliant people who come and have insights to make. Here at this conference, I've met attendees who have had interesting military experiences that they've shared with me, people who have had fascinating contact experiences that they are continuing to share with me here this weekend, and a lot of philosophical discussions that I think are very enlightening. So all of that, all of the above.
That's great. I bet, do people seek you out and to share their personal experiences?
Yes, absolutely. Anytime I do a conference, I try to make myself as available as possible, physically available. So I've been at my desk, my table here most of the time, and usually if I'm here for 15 minutes, the people start crowding around.
Yeah.
Because we always have a good conversation.
Yeah.
I think I actually have a better presentation at my table than I do when I'm on stage. It just kind of happens like that.
So what is the presentation that you've given this weekend?
Well, I gave 2 lectures. My basic lecture was, in a lot of ways, a kind of encapsulation of my new book, which will be out in about a month, which is called UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. And really what that is a fresh introduction to the whole topic, but really dealing with, I think, a wide range of facets of the UFO phenomenon, just showing how incredibly rich it is, how profound it is, and from anything having to do with studying the history from ancient to today, to the science associated with UFOs, from propulsion to consciousness, to the cover-up aspects of it, which go very deep, and all of that I try to cover. Yesterday morning, I did a workshop which I called "Reclaiming Our Freedom from a Lifetime of UFO Secrecy," and that was a little more of a political talk, and it had to do with what many of us see as an encroaching global fascism, global police state. It is not disassociated from the UFO cover-up. They're related. UFO cover-up's part of that. And my contention that we're at a crossroads right now where the battle is being waged. The battle is over, is there going to be an era of total control over your life or not? And of your children's lives and of your grandchildren's lives or not? And there are forces on both sides of that fence, and I spent a fair amount of time talking about that. One way that we can break that stranglehold are, I think, through maybe emerging technologies that are becoming available to people around the world. Another way that it might break, as I've been saying for a few years, is the real possibility that the UFO secret itself might be the catalyst for that change. I've often said UFO secrecy, the end of that secrecy is a paradox. It's impossible, but it's inevitable. I think it will happen, and when it does, it very well may cause a kind of global firestorm, if we're lucky, of engaged and enraged citizens who want to get to the bottom of it. And that might open up a whole can of worms about a lot of other cover-ups that have happened, from JFK to 9/11 to chemtrails to anything else you can think of. So we're really at the edge of a knife here. And we may go one way, we may go another. We may win on the side of freedom, we may lose on the side of fascism. And this is the moment. That's really what that was about yesterday. I think that's a theme that I'll probably continue to work and expand in the future.
So I can see, I've learned that it kind of goes far beyond just the UFO phenomenon. It goes far into like the government and so much more stuff that could be relevant to people even if they're not interested in
well, absolutely. The UFO topic is like a crowbar. It's like a wedge. And it can be a wedge that opens up. I mean, think of it this way. A lot of topics are a wedge that open up your reality into something totally different. Most of us grow up with a certain conventional education, certain conventional realities. And then if we're lucky, we wake up to the fact that there's something beyond that. So in my case, it was the UFO topic that served as that lever that went and ripped open the door, and you step into it. But the reason the UFO topic can open you up into this is I started out with a simple question. Were UFOs an interest to my nation's history, to my government? Turns out the answer to that is yes. That leads to another question. Why? And that leads to another question. Did they ever stop being interested? And what is the nature of what's going on? And so it just one question leads to another. And if you're really honest about it and if you're brave about it, you can't just stay at the surface of this. You have to go into the depths. And the depths then begin to transform your whole reality. Are these physical objects or are these non-physical objects? Is there a telepathic element involved in this? Well, yes, there is. And so that challenges your traditional views of science and on and on and on. So and that's just UFOs. You can break through with any other topic. If you're a 9/11 researcher, that too. If you're a chemtrail researcher, that can do it. And any of these topics are potentially able to rock your whole world and to transform your whole paradigm. For me, it just happened to be the UFO topic.
Yeah, and it's there is the personal aspect that people have these personal experiences, which are one thing, but then the fact that the government is interested at all, it's like another layer of...
They've been interested from the beginning. As far as we can tell, they have been very interested. And actually, what we're now really seeing clearly is that intelligence sources have known pretty much from the beginning that there's a psi element, that is PSI, telepathic element to this. They knew this back in the 1950s, so that there's a mental phenomenon going on with UFOs. So all of this is very interesting, and all of it can really transform our worldview.
Did you have a personal experience with the UFO or visitation that kicked you off on this journey?
I did have what I would say is really by the standards of most people, a pretty tame sighting. That's not what kicked off my interest. What kicked off my interest was simply, I have to say, just sheer intellectual curiosity. And there was something inside me that drove me to do it. As a scholar of U.S. national security policy, Cold War history is really what I did. I stumbled into this topic and just became obsessed. Several years into doing this, before I published my first book, I did have a UFO sighting with my son, who was very small at the time. And it was an interesting sighting. It wasn't spectacular, but it was a sighting that made me feel that this object was inside my head somehow, that it was communicating with me. I absolutely felt that way. So on that basis, that I consider that interesting. But by the standards of so many people who've had sightings, totally pedestrian. Nothing to shout about here.
Yeah. But still, I mean, anything, like personally, I have not experienced anything yet that I am aware of.
Right.
So, but, it totally would be open to it. And I'd love to.
Maybe the last thing that, might be worth mentioning here is I think a lot about reason and faith in UFO topic. And by faith, this is what I mean. When you study the UFO phenomenon, we employ reason in the sense that, like, in my case, I would study government documents, declassified things, and so forth, which tell me, without a doubt, with no question, that our high-level government agencies are pretty damned interested in this topic. So that tells me I know that there's something important happening. On the other hand, other than my own little rinky-dink sighting, actually two of them, I've never shook hands with an alien. I don't know for sure a lot of things that are happening here. And so it's almost as if you're walking on this very narrow line on one side of it is reason and fact, and you know certain things, but there's a whole side on the other side where I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't know a lot of this. And I never want to pretend, by the way, that I do. It's easy when you're a public person in this field for people to want you to know every answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you start pretending you do, that's your downfall right there.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of that is the great unknown. And I don't want to say that it's faith, but there's, maybe let's call it a trust, that there is a validity to the tremendous amount of this tremendous reality that is eluding us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I know that there's something here, and on the other side, I don't know it directly, but there's a certain level of trust, or we should say faith, that there is a profound reality going on. But all of us, I think, through our lives, in a certain sense, we're groping through the dark, and maybe that's our fate. Maybe it's really not for us to have total, complete enlightenment 24/7 and to know all things. We're not gods, although some people here might say that we are. We have divinity within us, yes. But maybe that doesn't mean that we have conscious omniscience.
Yeah.
And that we'll always have mysteries.
Yeah.
So that's our fate. But I'm comfortable with it. I enjoy my journey. I do know that there's a reality to this. I do know, as confidently as I can say, that there's a cover-up. And I believe that we're going to break it. And the important thing is that we break it in time before the global infrastructure that's in place is going to tear our planet to pieces. That's where we're at. It's like at a football game and the clock is ticking. We've got the 2-minute warning and we're down by a touchdown. And we're going to have to throw a Hail Mary pass so that at least we'll send this sucker into overtime. Otherwise, it's over.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Yeah. Well, Richard, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend.
It was my pleasure being here with you, Jamie, and I intend to have a good time at this conference.